Welcome in. Thanks for stopping by again on such short notice. Today we have another edition of IDP. Got some new indie rock, some shoegaze, as well as, dream pop, shoegaze / dream pop. I did just notice that we are coming up on the month of December. I'm not sure if you were aware that that was happening. It's pretty nutty stuff. I believe I'll have one or maybe two more editions of IDP before the end of the year, but with some other, there'll be some other videos peppered in as well for the truly masochistic doucheheads out there. I have picked up some turkey sticks, turkey meat sticks, if you will, for those that do celebrate Thanksgiving. Feel free to, grab a couple turkey meat sticks and, as usual, you can wash those down with a couple beers. Let's go ahead and get started. I've still got a bit of a throat issue that, let's just say it's less than ideal. First up, this is the second LP for a band out of Wollongong, which I'm sure I'm saying wrong. Wollongong, Australia. They're called Chimers, and their second LP is titled Through Today. It's out on Poison City Records and 12XU Records. Chimers are a husband and wife duo, so it's a two-piece band, guitar, drums, both sing. It's pretty loud for just guitar, just a duo. It's a very drum-forward, propulsive, with a fairly consistent intensity throughout most of the 10-track album. I'm going to call this something like post-punk / noise rock / indie rock. They formed back in the year 2020. They released their debut in 2021. They've already toured and worked with a lot of big name acts. They've toured with bands like Mudhoney, Built to Spill, and RVG. They've worked with a lot of a lot of big names, and I think they have a lot of endorsements from some famous people. I sometimes hear a little bit of a band, like somebody like, let's say, the band Interpol, but this is more intense throughout to me than Interpol. Also, maybe like someone like the Chicago band Fax, Facs. This is not quite as arty, perhaps, as Fax are. You can also hear a bit of maybe late 80s, early 90s noise rock / maybe even a little bit of like hardcore influence, and just your, bigger indie rock touchstones as well. If you're down for a solid 10-track, 34-minute driving indie rock album, this one is worth checking out. The group is called Chimers, and the LP is titled Through Today. All right, next up we have the debut LP from a young band out of Chicago, a quartet. They're called Sunshy, like Sunshy, and their album is titled I Don't Care What Comes Next, and it's out on Make Out Music Records. This is a young shoegaze band that takes cues from many of the classics. It hits hard with like kind of the gauzy feedback guitars, but also has big hooks and really embraces like an indie pop foundation. There's at times like a real downpour of just distorted guitar textures. There's synths and samples or samplers used on here as well. Just, many, many layers of noise. It's aggressive and loud, but, still sweet and accessible. And I would say while it is, pretty noisy, layered shoegaze, there are still some quieter tracks and some quieter moments within the tracks mixed in as well. There are both like that male-female vocal interplay and trading off. This is certainly, I think, a high recommendation to check out for the gaze heads among you. The band is called Sunshy, and their debut LP is titled I Don't Care What Comes Next. Unfortunately, I think this one is almost impossible to get a physical copy of. They exist, but they're not easy to come by. Nonetheless, we're checking out. Next up, we have the latest release by the London dream pop duo called Deary. This is a 6-track EP titled Aurelia, and it's out now on Cathedral Records. It is an EP, but it comes in at 26 minutes, which is longer than a lot of LPs, of full-length LPs that have been coming out here in the year 2024. They got, Deary received a lot of buzz following the release of a self-titled EP that they put out back in 2023, and then subsequently toured with bands Slowdive and Cranes. This is a well-crafted, well-produced, well-written, ethereal dream pop record. You can hear elements of 90s trip hop as well as 80s post-punk influences on here. Simon Scott of the band Slowdive adds drums and percussion to several of the tracks on it as well. I really like the vocals on here quite a bit, the, ethereal vocal style. Fans of other modern dream pop artists, I think should check these guys out if you haven't already. Quite an up-and-comer, I'd say, in the genre. I think we'll see if they're going to put out a proper full-length album sometime soon, I would suspect. Anyway, once again, that's the group Deary, and this one is called Aurelia, and it's out now on Cathedral. Next, we have the sophomore LP release from the New Zealand-based artist Amelia Murray, also known as Fazerdaze, and this album is titled Soft Power. It's been 7 years since Fazerdaze's debut LP that was called Morningside, released in 2017. That was put out by Flying Nun Records. This album is out on the Section 1 record label. We last talked about Fazerdaze back in 2022 with her kind of EP leading up to this album. The EP was called Break. That had a bit more of an indie rock or like even almost grunge elements to some of the, or influences on some of the tracks on there versus the debut LP. This one kind of shifts back towards that more ethereal dream pop from that debut LP, but then adds in elements of like 80s pop music, 90s trip hop, as well as just flat out modern pop, I would say. Her guitar work on here is solid, I would say, throughout. It's very introspective, shimmery, and hypnotic all the way through. I initially found that I felt like the album kind of tailed off quality-wise the end of basically the tail end of the album, but as it stands, I really do like it all the way through more and more as I've listened to it. I will say that I would have liked to have maybe had a little bit more of what was going on that 2022 EP Break to carry over into this album. Like, not all the way through, but maybe a couple tracks that were a little more in that heavier style. I feel like this album is one where it just might be too pop for some people, and then for other people it's not pop enough, if that makes any sense. If you're a fan of that debut LP, this is definitely worth checking out. You probably already have. Or if you're just interested in modern dream pop in general, definitely worth checking out. Artist is called Fazerdaze, and her sophomore LP is called Soft Power. Reality.